Salute, Knicks Nation. Let's talk about this ball game as the New York Knicks drop their second to last game of the season, or third to last game of the season in Detroit, losing 106-115. This one was a collapse late down the stretch as the Pistons finished hot and they got into their spots offensively, and the New York Knicks turned the ball over way too many times. But there's so many storylines, talking points to come out of this ball game, man. We are heated right now, but I'm not as frustrated with this loss as maybe some, right? I'll tell you why. Obviously, the Knicks were missing key players in this one, three key players, and were winning for three quarters of the ball game. But the fourth quarter collapse is a concern, and it's looking like the Knicks will face the Detroit Pistons in the first round. We still have one more game to clinch. We're going to look at the results around the league, shout you guys out, and react to this game. Man, we got a lot of things in this one to talk about. We got PJ Tucker minutes as well. Jalen Brunson's third game back, and obviously DeLon Wright, Landry Shamet major minutes in the rotation. Let's talk about it, guys. Connor T in the building, Lily Phillips, GK. Salute, guys. Great to see you. I'm frustrated, no doubt, and I think every Knicks fan should be. This is a game we should have won, and for the most part, it was a game where they were trying to win. You know, they were definitely trying to win this game. Three key players missing: Hart and Anunoby, nursing a thumb injury, which isn't too serious by reports. And obviously Mitch, I think they're being extra cautious with those guys. We've got Cavs tomorrow night, the second of a back-to-back. And obviously I think the team will want to get a win over the Cavs. And the Cavs played today. We'll take a look at that result in a minute. And then we finish in Brooklyn. But the Knicks should have won this ball game, man. Far too many turnovers, 14 turnovers. Karl Anthony Towns losing his cool down the stretch. Bad officiating. I'm not shocked, not surprised. Nothing that we haven't seen before. An allowance of extra physicality early in the game. They were letting Cade Cunningham use the offhand on the drives. They were trying to use their size and physicality against us. I thought we countered that quite nice with some key role players early in the game. PJ Tucker had a big impact in the first three quarters physically with rebounds. Pulled in 3 offensive rebounds, 3 defensive, gave us 6 rebounds. Precious Achiuwa, his best half of the season in the first half, was active, but the Knicks were getting stops for the most part, and they were able to fuel their offense in transition. But as always, and this is the main concern, when we get down the stretch of these tight playoff games, they're going to come up. Who's going to step up? I'm looking at the coach. I'm looking at the point guard. I'm looking at Cat. I'm looking at the leaders of this ball club that have to step up. And nobody stepped up tonight, right? Which is frustrating. But obviously, if you have a heart, you have an OG, the tenacity, the physicality of Mitchell Robinson is going to be a big, big factor in this series. And I'm not any more worried than I was before this game. I'm not less worried. I'm not more worried. I'm basically the same. If we were only missing one player tonight, I'd be a lot more worried with that performance, that collapse. But to say that there's no OG, no Hart, and no Mitch, that's 3, key players that you're missing. But obviously Detroit weren't missing anybody. But fair play. GG's to Detroit. They wanted to make a statement late down the stretch. They're going to throw their celebrations and all of that. You got to understand the storylines coming into this one. Detroit haven't won a playoff game since 2008, fam, since 2008. And so it's been that long. Their crowd's obviously going to be up for it. We need to win a game in Detroit, obviously. But I feel like we obviously need to focus on handling the rest of the 2 games, getting to the playoffs with a week's rest. And we look at these certain matchups. But the joy that the Pistons were getting on their post-ups with OG, with Hart out there, they're not going to get that same joy. They were putting Landry Shamet in the in the post-up situation, and they were having success with that. The Knicks were deploying switching and it was working for the most part. But late down the stretch, our offense just collapsed. You know, Karl Anthony Towns with 7 turnovers. You cut back on half of those, and we have a great chance to win this game. But obviously, Deuce McBride, 5 of 18. That's not going to get it done. Brunson, 15. He's not going to get it done either. Campaign, I thought we lost the momentum during a lot of the big campaign minutes, and he did sit Brunson quite a long stretch. I'm okay with that, given the game doesn't mean anything. They sat Brunson until the 6 minutes into the fourth quarter. But yeah, you guys have your say. A lot of fired up fans right now. Lost for words, Lily Phillips. Look, I'm not as down on this one as some. I think we got to wait for the real deal. This is a warm up. We see how it plays out when the real deal hits. When Mitch is in the lineup with Hart, with OG. But look, I am concerned about the offense. I'm concerned about the offense down the stretch with physicality. One, because the referees are unpredictable. You just don't know what they're going to call, what they're not going to call. It was very interesting late where we see Jalen Brunson trying to make his case to the referees, trying to be like, hey, Schroeder got that call. I didn't get that call, man. What's up with that? Like, if we're just going to call the team out, let's call the referees out as well. Because last I checked, Jalen Brunson is an all-star. And if he's not getting a call that Dennis Schroeder's getting, there's serious issues. There's serious problems with that one. Cade Cunningham getting a friendly whistle as well. Sandman, what's up? Yep, I thought Thibodeau, the execution down the stretch was terrible. That is one of my biggest concerns down the stretch. I do like the multi-point guard lineups. We got to see some of that. If Deuce can hit some more shots, I think we'll be okay. For 3 quarters, I was really liking the execution because no Hart out there. I thought the floor spacing was pretty solid. With with Hart, you just don't know what you're going to get because he passes up shots. Then he can drive. He can make some plays as well. It's a mixed bag. But I was really keen to see how things would play out with these lineups without Hart. Precious knocked down a few threes. Barring that late close to the third and early start to the fourth, I think we take this game. Tendrell says, give Precious the game ball. I think he made some impactful plays, all night. Obviously, late down the stretch, though, we need some offense. We need some offense, fam. Look, Landry Shamet, he stepped up offensively, hit 2 big threes. He hit 2 big threes, did Landry, and I'm happy for him to see that. But obviously, on the other side, they were getting the switches and they were getting him, in those post-up situations. Chance says, yeah, took out Shamet when he played well. I think they were worried about those matchups, fam, size-wise, with Tobias Harris, Cade. Look, here's the bigger picture stuff for you guys. Win or loss tonight, you take whatever the game played tonight. You take from this what Detroit like to do. You want to see what they have success with, what they don't have success with, and now we can work with that. The same way they're going to chop up all the film and look at all the things that they had success tonight. Well, let them, because it's going to be a different story with different looks, with OG being able to switch onto Cade. If you need switchability with Josh Hart. Josh Hart's not getting posted up like with Malik Beasley, like Landry was getting posted up in this one. Salute to AP, Paula in the building. Stanley says Tibbs is a lousy coach and should be let go. I see the Fire Tibbs squad's out in this one. Let's see what happens in the playoffs, right? They ain't firing a coach with 2 games to go, but I hear your frustrations in this one. I'm trying to be as optimistic as I possibly can because I believe in the players executing. But yeah, structurally, systematic wise, I think we need to be better offensively. I would love us to bring in an offensive player, coach, offensive coordinator. Get some better sets, some plays. But when push comes to shove, guys, it's going to be that moment in the playoffs where you're just going to have to man up. You know, you're going to be put uncomfortable situations, and you have to learn to get yourself out of those. Don't matter who you're going to play. There's always going to be that nervy moment in any series where, okay, now's the time for somebody to step up and execute. Cat let us down. Karl Anthony Towns let us down tonight with the 7 turnovers, right? There's one thing to let an opponent beat you, but you can't beat yourself. That's the cardinal sin, in my opinion, fam. We kind of beat ourselves, and then we let them take control of the ball game in this one. Who else stood out? Didn't stand out. Look, Mikal Bridges, I thought was okay. Offensively, defensively, we weren't good enough in the fourth quarter. We weren't getting the stops we needed to get. Monkey Wrench says literally OG will control Cade with the way he's been playing D. Yeah, 100%, man. I like that. They have fake film, 100%. I think, yeah, I'm heated in the moment, but yeah, I'm not any more worried about this loss than I would be. I think it's going to be a solid series. It's going to be competitive, and that's exactly what you should expect, man. You're not going to get no cakewalk. Right, I want us to earn this thing the hard way, fam. If we get through a bloody first round, a tough series, then we'll have earned it, man. And Thibodeau will have done something right to get us there. And if we don't get past the first round, well, then everybody, deserves criticism, and Tibbs might need to go. And, trades will happen, things like that, right? I don't want a fake first round series where it's like, okay, and then we run into a brick wall second round. This is the real deal, ladies and gentlemen. This is the real deal. And, some guys stepped up tonight. Some guys didn't. I would have liked to see a bit more DeLon Wright. He was +2 in 13 minutes and, didn't do a lot offensively, but was more solid, I think, defensively than the others, some others out there. He can get his hands into the passing lanes. He can get steals. He can get strips. I thought with no Mitch, Cat in foul trouble. Let's not forget about that as well. Cat missed significant time due to foul trouble. PJ Tucker wasn't banking on playing close to 30 minutes tonight, man. 25 minutes. He did solid. I can't really say anything more than what PJ gave us. Rebounding, toughness. We shouldn't really need to see him in any series, but look, it's good to know that he's active. If Cat's in foul trouble, or Mitch, is in foul trouble, maybe Tucker's that guy for this kind of matchup. Let us know your thoughts. Right, given PJ Tucker had some success tonight, do you think he should be played in this series? Paula says Deuce hasn't been the same, all those injuries. 100%, he hasn't been the same. I feel like he was aggressive trying to get to the cup, and he got blocked a few times. He's never been strong finishing, I think, due to lack of size among the trees. Look, I admire his aggressiveness to try to finish in traffic. That's something that Campaign just wasn't doing. Mikal Bridges, fading from contact. I like that Deuce was taking it strong. But yeah, you also got to be smart. You got to know when you're going up against the trees, fam. And kick it out. There's a corner shooter open normally if you can get into the paint. Yours truly, bless up. Let's go. I'm still 100% confident that we're going to win a first round series against this squad. But hey, man, the juices are flowing right now. The playoff intensity, the shenanigans from Detroit, and the tricks seen out there. Throwing up the alley-oop late. Complaining to the officials as well. JB Bickerstaff. Remember that guy we sent home packing when he was with Cleveland? Well, guess what, JB? Not our JB, their JB. He already knows what's up. He already knows what's up, man. He's going to feel the pressure. We go out there, guys. We handle our business in the first 2 games of the series. You have to do that. You have to take care of business at home and put all the pressure back on them, man. And then we'll see who's the one that's going to crumble, I think, as well. Don't forget, this is a team that's inexperienced in the Detroit Pistons, a team that we're going to be dealing with where we've got more experience. We've got PJ Tucker that's won a ring, guys that have been to the finals with Cam Payne and with Mikal Bridges. We've got guys that have obviously been to the playoffs 3 years running now in Hart and Deuce McBride, JB as well. 3 key guys missing from this matchup tonight, right? I don't really see a way Detroit could play any better. Maybe correct me if you think I'm wrong. Yeah, Detroit played solid. They were the better finishing team. We were the better first half team. But could I see Detroit playing any better than what they played? I mean, they had every player available. They executed. You know, they took advantage of some of our lack of size, which isn't going to be the case. You know, and look from the very get-go, this is the preferential treatment we're dealing with, guys, and this is what we have to overcome. Now it's going to be fascinating to see how it plays out. But this is one of the first plays of the game, man. I tweeted this out. I could not believe that this wasn't called a foul. It was so clear. I mean, what's he doing with his left arm? Like, I mean, he's just basically clearing out. Like, you know, last I checked, that wasn't legal. Man, I just don't understand, man. Maybe is the NBA trying to level things up? Maybe they want to add some extra spice to this matchup. But I mean, there's going to be blood if that's allowed at MSG. You know, there's going to be blood in that series if they continue to let this thing play out that physical. To no surprise, Beef Stew got fouled out in this one. Cat possibly could have got fouled out as well. The referees are going to play a big part, I think, in this series in terms of how, all right, where are they going to draw the line in terms of calling what's a foul, what's not a foul, and are they going to be consistent with it? You know, are they going to be consistent with it? You know, let us know your thoughts. D Cool in the building says, no, PJ shouldn't even be on the team. Rather give that spot to TJ Warren or Moses Brown. I hear some criticisms of the PJ signing, no doubt. I mean, I think tonight's performance let us know that I think his experience and toughness could give us something if needed. But yeah, I don't think he should be playing. He should be a situational basis, like Monkey Wrench says, man. Chris says, why coach take out Shamet in the 4th when he was getting hot? Tibbs is always going to go back to the main rotation and the starters usually, unless they're absolutely struggling. He'll always go back to them, I think, late down the stretch. But yeah, we let them hang around. That was the first mistake. I think we really could have gone up 15, and that's been the story of our season all along. I think mentally we don't have that killer instinct, right? And so could a lot of these playoff games be closer than necessary? Yeah. You know, I'm not seeing that killer mentality in us, and I haven't seen it all season. You know, maybe some other teams got more killers than us. It might come down to that. Yeah, you could have talent, you could have all-stars. In the playoffs, you need killers, fam. And Detroit could have some up-and-coming killers. They might use this platform to make a name for themselves. They are physical, but they are inexperienced right now. Theoretically, we should have more killers because we've got guys that have been down that road. We've got guys that have been around the block, been all-stars, and should have a chip. I mean, if you're Cat, you're Brunson, you're hearing all this talk about you, you know, losing all those games to higher seeds. If that don't fuel you, then nothing will, man. You're comatose. LB So Wavy, what's up? Says, I really want us to make it to the finals, but deep down, I want us to lose so we can fire Tibbs. Man, I know you're not the only one thinking that. It's tough to hear that from a Knicks fan. You should always root for the team to win, right? Because if we're winning, you know, then Tibbs is doing something right. And if we're winning, we have a chance to go all the way. But I hear you. Look, I'm willing to just let things play out naturally, organically, you know. I'm just going to enjoy this playoff ride because hey, if we're not good enough, we're not going to be good enough to win, and we're going to make changes, and maybe that is the best thing that is going to happen, or we're going to prove some people wrong. And obviously, we want to go as far as we can. But yeah, guys got a lot of legacies on the line. Speaking of Tibbs, speaking of Cat, right? There's already narrative spinning around that Cat's a playoff choke. We already had a guy like that in Julius Randle that had that narrative. Now nobody's saying JB's a playoff choke because that would be crazy. He's in the Michael Jordan stratosphere of playoff games. But when it comes to execution, it's what have you done for me lately? There's already the knives are going to be out. All these goofy aggregate accounts probably on Twitter right now, Instagram, saying, "Oh, Knicks lost to the Pistons." Yeah, watch them get smoked. Shaq already spinning, trash about us and all of that. If that don't fuel our guys to go out there and absolutely destroy this young Pistons team and say, look, there's levels to this, then I'm going to be frustrated. We should handle Detroit. Not saying it's going to be easy, but it should be over in no less than six, no more than 6. Fam, 5 would be ideal, but obviously, look, Detroit have got some depth. Look, they didn't shoot the ball particularly well tonight. I thought we had our chance. We should have buried them. D. Cool says, like I said a few days ago, the Knicks don't want to see the Pistons and Magic in the first round. Your beloved coach will be out of here if they lose in the first round. I don't know who you're speaking to in terms of your beloved coach. You're certainly not speaking to me, I hope, because I've never been on Tibbs. I've never been a Tibbs guy. Maybe you're speaking to someone else. Please correct it if you are. But I'm not worried about the Pistons or Magic. I'm really not, fam. The playoffs are playoffs. It's going to be a challenge. You have to be mentally tough and strong. If we lose one game, I'm not going to flip out. I mean, it ain't meant to be easy. It ain't meant to be easy. There's going to be other teams drop games right now. But right now, we need to be the adult. We need to be the adult in the room right now. I'm seeing this Detroit team. They're just immature. They're just young kids running around. They got youthful enthusiasm, all of that. These young bucks, Ron Holland, want to step to people like he's in the UFC. I like the fact that we were going at Cade. We need to really go at Cade because, yeah, we saw tonight Cade got in foul trouble. That affected the ball game a lot. And obviously, when the playoffs hit, we really need to let them know that who are they're up against, man. We are the bigger brother in this thing. But were they going at 100% tonight? That's going to be fascinating to find out. Obviously, if playoff Demon OG, Demon Obi is out there, there's going to be a whole lot of guys, I think, understand what they're up against in this one. Size 9 says they beat us 3 times. Yeah, I put more stock in tonight's one for Detroit, but one of the ones they beat us earlier was the Knicks were really ripe for the picking that night, man. I think it was a second night of a back-to-back. The Knicks just played a lousy game. But look, fair play to Detroit, man. I would probably rather the Knicks lose this one than lose any of the playoff games, Lose this one early, get it out of the way. Get it out of the way. Because I think if we had gone out there and we had punked Detroit tonight, they would have a lot more film. They would have a lot more chip, I think, on their shoulder. Right now, it might be the opposite. Detroit might be coming into the first round thinking, yeah, man, we're extra cocky. Getting that win tonight against a Knicks team missing 3 main guys might have Detroit feeling a bit more cocky. So I feel like, if they want to, put stock in this win, then let them, But I thought some of our bench minutes were poor. Tibbs might need to tighten that rotation. In fact, I think Tibbs will tighten that rotation, fam. It was a mess, the campaign minutes, fam. We don't lose a stranglehold on the ball game with the crappy campaign minutes. He was just all over the place, man. 1 minute he was shooting a hop step floater, falling out of bounds. Poor shot selection, not getting guys going. 2 assists in 14 minutes from our point guard. Yeah, if you want to run another guy out there, give it to DeLon Wright, man. We need a steady hand. Man, I need steady Eddie out there. I don't need campaign being all erratic, man. I'm trying not to get my blood pressure up. D Call, appreciate you. It says not you, the Tibbs apologists out there. Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. Definitely. And look, yeah, a lot of people put more stock in the regular season. Oh, 50 wins. Yeah, great. Surpass Pat Riley, all of that. I appreciate the culture change. I know Tibbs has brought stability and culture, but it's about how can we get to that next level, man. We've been idle for 2 seasons now at the second round, right? We already given Tibbs his props for raising the floor and being stable and all of that. That's been 2 years now in the past, man. People living in the past. How do we take that next step? You know, do you guys, if you're headed in a building up to level 9 and the elevator stops at level 7, are you just going to stay in there, or stay in the elevator and level 7 if you're trying to get to level 9? No, you're going to get out of the elevator, you're going to take the stairs, and you're going to get up to where you got to get to, you know. Size 9 says stop imagining we are the better team. I don't think it's imagining. I think the New York Knicks have won more games than the Detroit Pistons. They've got more talent. Sure, could it come down to execution? Absolutely. I don't have all the confidence in our execution. I think that's where we're vulnerable. But I'm not going to sit here and say Detroit's a better team than us. I think that would be crazy right now. I mean, why is it always a narrative when the Knicks don't have three main guys that the Knicks suck and they lose to Detroit? Yeah, what if the Knicks punked Detroit with no Cade, no Stewart, and no Beasley? No one would be putting stock in it. They'd be like, oh yeah, Detroit didn't have their guys. I mean, OG is one of our best players. Josh Hart's a starter out there, and Mitchell Robinson's our defensive anchor. So, is there reason for any Knicks fan to be concerned? Yeah, absolutely. But I think the Knicks should be confident still going into this one. Paula says Shaq is an A, no talent ass. Yep, 100%. I'll tell you why Shaq is salty. A lot of fans don't realize, but Shaq is basically, Ewing. Ewing is Shaq's unk. Ewing is Shaquille O'Neal's mentor. He looks up to Ewing, like an unk, bigger brother. And Shaq wasn't happy with the way Ewing got treated by the Knicks organization. Ever since then, Shaq's been salty. Like you don't even look at who we're playing. You just know it's personal when it comes to Shaq. We could be playing the Washington Generals, and he'd be like, "Yeah, Washington Generals are going to beat the Knicks." He's just salty because of the Patrick Ewing situation, which is probably like going back 2 decades now. Freeway says we're missing 3 key guys. It's going to be a tough series, but I think the Knicks can win. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. And look, the 3-6 matchup isn't like a 7-2, 8-1 matchup. To be in the 6th seed, there's not that much separation. The 6th seed always got a chance, I think. But yeah, who's going to step up when the lights are bright on Detroit? Who's going to step up when the lights are bright on us? I think we got more guys that can step up when the lights are bright, fam. We just got more guys that have been there. And if we don't, I think it'll be the biggest issue, I think, would be coaching. Fam. I'm going to say right now, without seeing a single game, if Detroit end up winning the series, which I don't think they will, I can 100% confidently say it would be, barring a crazy injury or something, it would be the coach at the top of the reason why the Knicks didn't get the series win. Fam. And then maybe second, giving Pistons credit, I would say probably, guys played out of their mind. If Pistons were to win, the second main reason would probably be that the Pistons just played out of their mind, and it would probably be gone 7, gone 6 or 7. Maybe the Knicks lose one of their home games early. D Cool says the Knicks had no answers for Cade down the stretch. Yeah, I think matchup wise, he was definitely using the size, and they were allowing a lot of physicality. Um, I just get annoyed, man, that they don't allow our guys to get the calls, and Brunson gets hit to the floor, Cat gets hip checked, and those guys are the all stars, and they don't get the call. But Cade and the other guys can be physical with their forearm, which is crazy. AP says it, yeah, Shaq hated the Knicks since the 90s. No doubt about it. Johnny, what's good? What's good? Tibbs was punking the Pistons with his lineups tonight, giving them fake confidence. Could that be the case, fam? I don't think Tibbs is going to play a bigger rotation, no doubt. I think, yeah, we lost the edge during some of those funky lineups. And, yeah, whether our guys gas out or not, that could be a story. But I think he's going to play Brunson 43 minutes comfortably, 44 minutes. How many did JB play tonight? Yeah, JB played 29. That's another thing. So you definitely have a point, Johnny, with the rotations. Tibbs wasn't doing his full playoff rotations tonight. Look, Miles McBride couldn't hit a bucket tonight, and he played 38 minutes, and only gave us 2 rebounds. You substitute Josh Hart in the Miles McBride minutes tonight, and you get way more than 2 rebounds. You get more hustle plays. You probably get more than 6 assists as well. I mean, look, Josh Hart's a playoff guy. He's built for the playoffs. That won't be the first time I say this. That won't be the last. Josh Hart will be a big factor in a playoff series. He does raise his game, I think, does Josh Hart. And look, you see Miles, and I love Miles, but you see him, his production tonight in 38 minutes, and you look at 2 of 10 from downtown. You look at 2 rebounds, 6 assists. Like, I can confidently say Josh Hart, could possibly, outproduce that and maybe double that production in the same amount of minutes. And look, the size is going to be key as well. Pause. AP says, I really want a new coach. Then next year, Leon has to be evaluated. You have a point in terms of once a president or GM fires their coach, they've kind of used up their lifeline. Then the heat goes back onto them. So how long does he stick with Tibbs is going to be a big factor with that. Chris says, I'm sure when OG gets back, he'll be the one guarding Cade. I think definitely down the stretch, but yeah, Malik Beasley shouldn't be bullying on the block, man. Landry shouldn't have been in that situation, right? You got to get at least Bridges in that situation. Yeah, we killed ourselves tonight, man, with the turnovers, poor execution down the stretch. And look, this was a road playoff game. The players got to learn to do better executing with the crowd. The defense is going to tighten up. The crowd's going to get into it. Are we going to lose our cool? We did tonight, man. We lost our cool. Yeah, it's not a pretty sight, but obviously with some key guys out there. I mean, OG's been one of our best shooters. I think he hits a few more threes. We can hold on in this one. But sometimes you just have to deal the hand you've been dealt, right? And what I mean by that is win the first 2 games. You've got the higher seed, right? It's going to be a tough series, but you did all the hard work. You did all the heavy lifting to get the 3rd seed and get home court. Go out there and make a statement in the first 2 games, right? Most teams that higher seeds win the first 2 games, the pendulum swings heavily in their favor, and you don't even need to look at the statistics over the years. You know that you've got the best chance to win. And I'm going to be frustrated if the Knicks drop any of the Madison Square Garden games. Then they deserve to then have to go onto the road and pull one out. Some positive takeaways. I mean, Precious' performance was good. I don't know if he's going to get minutes when guys are healthy or when guys are back. I don't know if Landry's going to play many minutes in the first round. I like his shot making. Tucker's definitely not going to see any minutes. Does DeLon Wright see any minutes? I think there's a possibility. DeLon Wright could be that situational guy that really has a chance to get in there for a few possessions, maybe, to D up. That's going to be interesting as well. So let's do a score check around the league right now, because the Pacers have defeated the Cavaliers by 2 points in what was a crazy back and forth game of runs in that one. So let's take a look right now. 114, 112. The Bucks have got their win, so they've clinched. Basically, they're going to clinch the 5 spot, and it is going to be the New York Knicks, the Detroit Pistons, locked in 100%. Actually, no, not just 100% yet, because the Pacers won. Right, that's right. The Pacers won, so there is a chance that the Knicks maybe lose the next 2, and Indiana could take the 3rd spot. But if the Knicks win one more game, that's it. The Knicks will get 3. Let us know what you think. What should they do? Would you prefer the Knicks to play some gamesmanship in the final 2 games, sit a few more dudes? You just don't know if Indiana are going to continue winning. Who else have they got? Indiana got 2 more games. Tomorrow they play Magic, and the Magic will be trying hard to win that one. So the Pacers have to win that, and then the Pacers will play the Cavs in the final game, and they're probably going to win that one as well, because the Cavs will be resting. So yeah, it'll all come down to tomorrow. If the Pacers can win against the Magic and they beat the Cavaliers, and if the Knicks drop both of their 2 games, then the Pacemakers will get that 3rd spot right now. I think they're only 1.5 games back now. 1 game back. Hasn't been refreshed yet. Once this thing updates, the Pacers will only be a game off the New York Knicks, but the Knicks have the tiebreaker in that one. Johnny says Knicks were missing 2 monsters and the heart of the team. We got to stop hating. AP says, I don't know if anyone can survive a 1st round loss here. You're right, man. I'm not going to disagree. If Tibbs loses in the 1st round, I think unequivocally he should be gone. He should be on the hot seat. You can't ask for a better scenario. 50 plus wins, everybody healthy. You're the 3rd seed. You're going up against a younger, experienced team. You should not lose the 1st round. I don't care who it is. Smash those likes. Appreciate you, AP, and everyone listening, tuning in. Nick Streets are buzzing. Johnny says the 4th quarter, cat turnover, 24-second violation, cat turnover, repeat. I think poor shot selection, poor decision making hurt us, man. Those straight line drives, he just wants to continue to drive, and he's not getting the foul call. The strip, the bumble, the careless pass on that fast break, or the second chance rebound, and then he threw it away. Like, that just had me heated right there. But I think in that moment, I think you'll go back to the point guard, right? You got to reset. You got to methodically run your set. The playoffs are going to be a slower pace. You got to execute. Don't turn them over. I'm confident we'll see less turnovers. I just don't know how they're going to officiate it, right? On that note, Chris also says, crazy how Dennis is getting the calls that Brunson isn't getting. Kind of suspicious. 100%, man. But you just got to play through it, we're good enough to beat this team. We should be beating this team. This let me know how crazy they were, because this should be called a foul, man. 10 times out of 10, right? How do you miss that? Like, how do you blatantly miss that? The shove off, and this was in the first few minutes of the ball game, right? Look, maybe the referee didn't have the angle, but why is 3 officials on the floor, man? Can't you see that he's pushed off? He's basically used his hand to push off. Not even an elbow or forearm. He's used his hand to shove the defender in the chest. Brunson didn't get that call, but look, we're going to have to live with that, because we are going to have to switch a lot fighting over these screens. We don't want to leave these 3-point shooters open, fam. And as I bring up the 3-point numbers, the New York Knicks, they held the Pistons to 36% from downtown. So I think that's okay. 36% from downtown. It was better than obviously some of the games earlier in the season where Beasley cooked us. We definitely turned the water off in this one. But look, we're going to get our demon back. Josh Hart as well. We're going to get another three playoff demons in this one. Yeah, Cade loves to push off with the offhands. Nick N in the building. Good to see you, fam. Says your boy Tibbs already in playoff form. Yeah. Tough finish, man. The collapse was crazy. Look, credit to the Pistons. They executed down the stretch. They hung around where the Knicks really let them. But yeah, Tibbs did play some funky lineups. PJ Tucker, Landry, Shamet, DeLon Wright. Precious, I don't think, is going to get many minutes as well. Yeah, look, I'm taking the Pistons seriously. I'm not someone who thinks that we're going to sweep them. I'll be surprised if the Knicks win in 5. That would genuinely surprise me. I think it's trending towards Knicks in 6, best case scenario. And then, yeah, it could be 7. And if Pistons win, then, yeah, Thibodeau's out of here. Right, Thibodeau is out of here. People will make the case if the Knicks lose in the second round that Thibodeau is out. But if the Knicks don't get past the first round, I think it'll be pretty clear. Monkey Wrench Built says, CT, my issue with the Knicks, and I agree, we're not getting the calls, but as players, they are not at minimum matching the physicality of the other team, never mind Detroit. I think my biggest concern, I hear what you're saying as well, I think it's mentality. We might not have the killer mentality. You know, a killer mentality knows that you're more superior than the other team and you put them away by hook or by crook, you know, whether you have to play bully ball and just over physical them, whether you have to just execute and be precise and like a surgeon and pick them apart. Right now we're doing neither. You know, we're making life difficult with these turnovers. Right. Mello says, yeah, I agree with the Tibbs playing checkers, not chess. With the other coaches, I believe the NBA is rigged. Look, ratings, storyline, all of that matters for the NBA. They're going to hype this thing up like nobody's business, man. I already said before, these goofy aggregate accounts, Legion, Central and all of that, they'll be probably plastering these tweets. Yeah, Knicks lose to Pistons and all that, but they'll never mention who missed the game, who didn't play, who played, all of that. They're all about just filling their clicks, man. But you know what? We just have to take our medicine, man. Chin up and handle our business like a grown man. You know what I mean? I think this series, guys, it's very much going to be like younger brother versus big brother, you know. The big brother does dominate over the years, you know. We've dominated the Pistons. The Pistons are now the younger brother that's got to the point where they're maybe like, you know, they're a young man, you know, close to a young man growing up. Maybe we're 20, 18, our younger brother is 15, 16, and they're trying to make a point. They're trying to come up. And we need to act like the bigger brother, and we need to act like we, you know, are not going to take any nonsense. We're not going to take any shit. And we're basically going to, you know, dominate and make sure that the New York Knicks execute at home. You know, part of me kind of is frustrated with the end, but I like to see the Detroit, you know, all that hoopla, you know, the slant, the alley oop late, the crowd, Malik Beasley doing all that. You know, I wanted them to get this. I wanted them to get this first round. This matchup, Detroit. You know, I didn't want them to finish 5. I wanted them to finish in 6 after they started to feel confident. Because the Knicks need this challenge. You know, we're at the crossroads in some way where, you know, like I said, second round 2 years in a row. Is it going to be a 3 years in a row? You know, James Baker says, spot on, brother. Buzzer Beater says, what the F? Salute, Buzzer. Let us know who disappointed you tonight as well. I don't want to give out the grades right now because I'm ready for the playoffs to begin. I feel like we all know who did and didn't show up tonight, but I was surprised Miles McBride, 5 of 18, 2 of 10. That's a killer. That's a killer. And, Deuce has to be better. He was one of our better offensive talents when we needed him, and he didn't take advantage. He got blocked a couple of times. I like his aggression, but he just didn't make the right play. Minus 13. Deuce was a team worst. We don't see that very often, man. And how often is that going to happen? Is Deuce really going to be our worst player in the plus minus when the playoffs begin? I doubt it. Johnny says Cat needs to grow up. Stop complaining. Stop pushing the ball into turnovers like Randall. Look, Cat has a big ego, man. And I say that in a way where, stars need an ego, but Cat needs to understand that he can't get drawn into this ticky-tack, matchup stuff. He has to do what's best for the team, execute better, take the right shots, man, and move it on. Knicks 25 and 26 champ says Pistons don't scare me in the playoffs. You're feeling extra confident. I can hear that from you coming. D Cool says you go from beating Bickerstaff in the playoffs and getting him fired from the Cavs to Bickerstaff taking a 14-win team and beating Tibbs 3 times. Make it make sense. You need extra talent, but obviously Bickerstaff with the Cavs wasn't good. We killed him with Mitchell Robinson, fam. The Knicks won the rebounding tonight, so I think Mitch's paint presence is going to do a big deal. But we did win the rebounding. Yeah, the Killers, man. That reminds me 2 years ago. We went more than 4 minutes without scoring a single bucket. We can't win and won't win like that. Yep. The only way we can win like that is we're stopping them. And they got hot. They got hot. I would have liked our guys to maybe play a bit more physical and pick up some more fouls. Like Miles McBride. You're out there 38 minutes, 1 foul. I'm looking at that. I'm looking at Landry Shamet, 15 minutes, 1 foul. Bridges, he should have picked up a bit more fouls, I think, being more physical, or forced the issue to be more physical. See, the only way you get away with being more physical is to put the referees in that position to see what they're going to call, see what they're not. And the more you can get away with, hey, the more the better, Detroit got the, they got it down to a fine art in terms of bumping Cat. SF Wisdom salute says, I think the outcome would have been the same. Coach should have put Bridges on Cade. Chris says, we had 2 small guards play tonight with no Hart and no OG, so Cade took advantage. I bet that won't happen in the playoffs when OG and Hart back in the lineup. Yeah, it is going to be back and forth. Cade's going to have his moments in the series, and no doubt our guys are going to have their moments, man. It's going to be a fun series again. No doubt about it. And as I pull up the standings once again, unfortunately, one of the reasons why we're in a situation where we're in is because you control your own destiny, right? Normally, you have a chance to finish in the 2nd seed when you get 50 plus wins, right? But this year is different. Who the hell thought Cleveland would come up and get 63 wins? I didn't see that coming. And Celtics, they were expected to be number 1 with 55 to 60 wins. The fact that the Knicks, had to finish with 3rd means that you are going to play a stronger opponent in the 6th spot. If it's 2-7, then I think it's more favorable. But right now, the Knicks just have to do it the hard way. See, this is quite debatable. This is what I was thinking too, AP. The Knicks had to win this game Now the Pistons believe they have a shot. That could go two ways. It could work in their favor. You know, they could get extra confidence. Maybe it comes back to bite them. But yeah, maybe the Knicks winning this game, maybe it gives the Pistons fuel as well. You know, I think it could go either way. I think if the Knicks had won a close game, the Pistons would really look at the film and they'll be looking like, you know, man, we have a chance. But now that the Pistons won this game more comfortably, maybe they think, yeah, you know, they're feeling even more confident, and they're thinking like, yeah, we can just, you know, do the same thing and execute again. Now, a big storyline, guys, is going to be how much can Mitch play? You know, I would love Mitch to play 25 plus minutes. You know, no doubt, right? I don't have much faith in Cat playing too many minutes at the 5. You know, when we see our rebounding prowess, we have to assert our authority down low in the paint, man. No layups, no K drives, no Dennis Schroeder finishing like that with that circus shot. Connaughton says no coaching, no plan, no organization. Yeah, we continue to crumble down the stretch. That's been a familiar theme with Tibbs. You know, there's no plan. He's waving his arms like crazy. The players just don't know what's going on. That sort of stuff should be spoken of in practice. You know, every team needs a philosophy. Like, yep, we're going to foul. Like, no matter what, you're up 3. Everybody knows to foul. That should be the deal coming into the ball game. Not once you get into that situation. Right. I hope we iron all these things out. Right. Let's say you have a lead. You're protecting a lead. The other team's making a big run on the road. Use the shot clock. Don't take a, you know, Cameron Payne or Karl Anthony Towns. Don't take a ill-advised shot with 15 seconds left on the clock. Man, manage the game. You know, all of those things count, I think, big time, right? And probably my last more positive takeaway out of tonight is that we drew fouls. We got them into situations where they got into foul trouble. We got to the foul line, right? We have to do that again. We have to continue to do that again. We have to be patient. Don't give them the easy way out. You know, don't hoist, you know, early shot clock stuff. You know, don't throw the ball away. Make them play defense. You know, take care of the ball. Make them play 24 seconds of defense and wear them down and draw fouls. Right. If I'm Brunson now, my mindset is this. They're going to throw the kitchen sink at me and I'm going to have to be prepared to take hits. But I'm going to draw fouls on them and I'm going to make them pay. Right? I'm going to hold on to the ball, and a lot of fans might not like this because it's going to be maybe a lot more isolation. But I would rather a shot or a draw fouls than turn the ball over. You know, if you turn the ball over in the playoffs, it's going to kill you, man. It's going to be a layup, or one of your guys is going to have to pick up a foul, stopping a transition bucket. You know, and then it gets the crowd going crazy as well. So this could be that series that, you know, rests in the hands of Jalen Brunson to lead us to taking care of the ball, running the offense efficiently, and drawing fouls, right? You know, I'm not talking about being a flopper or a foul merchant. I'm just talking about, okay, if they want to double him, you know, be strong with the basketball, and force the referees to force the action. Let us know what you guys think. Because if you're game planning against the Knicks, right, what is something that you want to happen? You want the ball out of Jalen Brunson's hands. Like that's 101, right? If you're trying to stop the New York Knicks, you don't say, "Oh, Brunson, have the ball. You know, do whatever you want." No, your number one plan is to try to take the ball out of Brunson's hands as much as possible. And if he has the ball, make life as difficult as it can possibly be. You know, throw doubles, throw physicality, all of that. And how JB handles all of that, you know, is going to go a long way to how we handle the series, you know. Chris says Cat ain't shooting enough threes like he has in previous years. Poor offensive structure, poor offensive system, I think, no doubt. Especially against Detroit, just listening to some Pistons fans, they were speaking about how Cat is a bad matchup for them on the perimeter. And, we see Beef Stew tonight, can't move his feet very well. Jalen Duren is a clumsy big as well. Cat should be feasting on the perimeter, fam. You're 100% correct. One 3-point attempt from Cat is malpractice. That's offensive systematic malpractice, fam. But Tibbs will counter. He'll say, "Look, the game will tell you what to do." It's basically the perfect response. Tibbs will always say, "The game tells you what to do. Read and react." You know why? Because it takes the responsibility out of his hands. He's putting responsibility on the players to say, "Hey, they got to do what the defense has given them." Right. And that's not good enough, because if the defense is trying to take away one of your main strengths, you have to find a way to counter that. Right. And one of our main strengths is a 3-point shooting big. You can't just keep saying, "Oh, the defense didn't give us that." You have to dictate what you want to do and make the defense react. Right. You should be making the defense react to you, not the offense reacting to what the game is telling him. That's ultimately where I feel like Tibbs just can't get over that hump. X's and O's, play calling, and offensive structure. If he was willing to bring in an offensive coordinator a few years back, that could have changed a lot of things. But he wants to protect everything. He wants to keep it. He wants to keep all of his own assistants. Darren Ehrman, Dice Yoshimoto, Andy Greer, all of these guys that follow him around. He doesn't want anyone else from the outer circle. And that's why Johnny Bryant, obviously, he wasn't a Tibbs hire. He didn't stick around in this one. Monkey Wrench Belt says, "I think Mitchie will play 25 for sure, and that double big lineup will be in effect come the playoffs." I hope so. I like that. I hope so. It's just like we haven't seen Mitch play heavy minutes yet, and I'm worried that, when we need it, are they going to be able to just go to it and flip the switch? Only they know how good his conditioning is right now and what his injury situation is like. Are they just resting him just out of precaution, or is it a real thing where there's concern that he can't play, major minutes consistently? Look, teams do have the blueprint to try to get Cat in foul trouble as well, and they do have that blueprint to push him out off the block. Yours truly says Knicks in 6, easy pies. Let's go Knicks. It's money time. CT. I like the confidence, fam. I like how you said 6, not 5, dude. Because I think 5's going to be tough, man. But obviously, if the Knicks take control, win the first 2 games, then anything's possible. Anything's possible, fam. I hate for us to give up home court, man. There's one thing where you can say, okay, Detroit have a chance, and a lot of people are going to be glued into this series. But one positive and also an advantage that the New York Knicks have is that we're the 3rd seed. You don't fight for 82 games for nothing, right? You fight to get the home seed, and you have to take advantage of that, right? You have to absolutely use that and come out and play your best ball from the get-go. But like I said, I'm confident. I'm still confident. I'm not really worried about these regular season games against Detroit. I know when we're full strength and when we've got guys at MSG in their rhythm, we're going to be tough to beat for this Detroit team, man. They're going to be absolutely up against it. They'll have to be 100% perfect, I think, to beat the New York Knicks in this one. It's going to be interesting. They've had some scalps. They've beaten the Boston Celtics. They've beaten some good teams. Can they do 4 out of 7? Can they beat the Knicks 4 out of 7? Don't forget, For the Knicks to lose the series, the Pistons have to win the series. So you could look at it that way. Can Detroit win 4 in 7 against this Knicks team? And would the Knicks allow that with home court advantage? Now, it could get uncomfortable. It could get tight at times. This thing might go 6, it might go 7. But I think ultimately, I think the Knicks have a far better chance of winning 4 in 7 than Detroit winning 4 in 7. Fam. Tendrell says all these details should have been ironed out months ago. 100%. And I think that's on the coach too. He does say a lot of players have spoken about how prepared Tibbs are, but we don't look prepared. That's the thing. And who is that? Who does that fall on? Down the stretch. I think it's all in the details as well. We have to set better screens because freeing guys up, we just seem to, they kill our action a lot of the time. We'll try to run a set. Guy can't get around the screen. And it is what it is. We have to reset, kick the ball back out. Right. Your best chance at a good bucket is the first play. Right. Set a hard screen and free a dude up. Either get downhill and free a guy up for an open J or something. The moment that breaks down, I don't have much faith in, the Knicks getting a great look. A lot of the time it's, reset it back out, 3-point heave, or a high chance of the turnover or a shot clock violation, So, we've learned a lot about this team over the 82 games, and we're going to learn even more in just like 7-game series and where they are. How can they handle the pressure? There's a certain level of pressure that you don't receive in the regular season, even in close games. In the playoffs are different. They're just so different, especially when you've got the expectation to win, over the other team. Now, it's cool being the Detroit Pistons because they're the underdog. They got no pressure at all. This is their first playoff run of many. They're up and coming, quote unquote. They're the NBA's darlings coming up. No one's going to clown them if they lose. People are going to be riding their jockstrap if they can win a few games, and see the Knicks downfall. And that's a dangerous situation to be in because they're just playing with confidence. They're playing with no hesitation. Yeah, no doubt, man. The Madison Square Garden Megatron, fam. Johnny, we need to come out with that killer mindset. Heck, even ironically, we might need to be the villain. We might need to be Megatron. To win this series. Lose all that nice guy stuff. Lose that attitude where we are soft. We need to lose that tag. We might need to be the villains in this one, fam. And if we have to be more physical than them and push back, then so be it. Make the refs call it. Make the refs call it, man. Take advantage of the first 2 games, on our home floor. But like I said, man, I won't be surprised if the NBA tries again throughout this series just to prepare you guys, right? Because I got your back, and I know this thing's going to be difficult to watch a tight series. But if the Knicks win the first 2 games and they go back to Detroit 2-0 up, expect the referees to maybe, make things a little bit more easier for Detroit to try to even the series a little bit. Expect that because the NBA loves storylines. They love theater. They love, a 7-game series. They love the ratings and all of that. Yeah. Yeah, that nice guy stuff but never been our identity. We need to be who we are, who we used to be, fam. That's why I like the PJ Tucker minutes. As I bring up the graphic, he stepped to Dennis Schroeder, fam. We're going to need more of that because we saw tonight. Who the hell is Dennis Schroeder to be talking that ish? You know, who the hell is Malik Beasley? An NBA journeyman. You know, he's been on more teams than I can remember, man. And he's doing the too small. So that stuff should not be flying, man. Like, I don't care who it is. That should not be flying. And sure as hell, Dennis Schroeder, we can't let him get into the mind of Jalen Brunson, man. And that's why I like this PJ Tucker doing this, man. Get back in their minds and say, no, you know, you have to prove you're the little brother. You know, you need to prove yourself that you can hang. You know, you need to prove that you can hang with us. Johnny says regular season record don't mean ish. Remember that we beat Atlanta 4 times, then lost in the playoffs. Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. It's 0-0 right now. That's why I'm glad this game's done with. I'm not as upset that it's a L. I'm disappointed and frustrated how the L happened, how we collapsed. Right? If it was like, let's say it was a tie game and Cade hit a step back, you know, a shot clock cheese, I would have been like, okay, you know, nobody really takes any confidence from this one. But in terms of just taking the L, I'm not as worried because I think it's 0-0. You know, maybe our gamesmanship tonight is going to work in our favor because no OG, no Hart, and no Mitchell Robinson. They played their full squad, and we know what we're going to be up against now, right? Until we hit them on game 1 with our full squad, they're not going to know what they're up against, really. Today, we played their full squad. You know, we now know what we're up against. You know, so that could be something that works in our favor, you know. But like I said, the rotations were janky tonight, and we're not going to see this. We're not going to see extended minutes from all these guys, right? And especially with the rest, our guys should be more healthy, more fresh come the first round, man. Brunson's going to get like a week off. You know, OG, Cat, you know, the Pistons are obviously going to get the week off as well because they won't be in the play-in. But every time the Knicks have had solid rest, they've come out and played their best ball, right? You can't deny that. When we had 2 days rest, we came out and destroyed the Memphis Grizzlies. You know, we destroyed some other teams as well. Anytime throughout the season, we lost to Detroit on the second of a back-to-back, one of those games. But anytime we've had rest, you know, our guys are coming out and have showed up and produced as well. Yeah, WWF AP Tendrell says 7 games more ad revenue. You know what the counter that is? You just can't let them. You can't let the NBA do that, right? As in, you might have a night where the referees are up against you and you still have to win the game. You know, you just have to find a way. You know, don't do that stuff that Cat does and turns it over and complains and, you know, gives it back to the other team. You know, you have to be stone cold. And look, to our guys' credit, we did that against Philadelphia in the closeout game. You know, we were up against it game 6 at the Els Fargo, and we took control, and we were like the stone cold killer on that night, fam. But that obviously came up against the game 5 collapse, where we had to compose ourselves after letting Maxi hit that shot. We didn't foul, remember? I don't know if you guys can remember. We were up and we let Maxi get that 3 up, and then Tibbs had to adjust. But then he failed to do it against Boston. You know, we closed that one out. The closeout game is the most difficult. You know, the referees, again, they're going to maybe try to keep things going. But we can't lose our cool either, because Beef Stew, if he starts to get Cat off his focus, you know, it's going to be ugly. If Malik Beasley tries to ruffle some feathers, Dennis Schroeder, we just have to get on with the job, man. These guys are the underdogs. They're going to try whatever they can. They're definitely going to try some tactics, I think, to get our guys off their spot. You know, Beasley, the guy who hit the most threes at MSG, yeah, we had him under control tonight, but you know, we out rebounded them as well. We just didn't execute, man. It's too many turnovers. tonight. If Johnny says if Cat doesn't poop the bed in the fourth, we win with half a team plus PJ. Why worry? OG to the rescue. No doubt. I just want the series done early as possible. Move on to the second round, because ultimately I want us to keep going, man. I want us to have the best chance at beating Boston or beating Cleveland. And the only way you can do that is to just get this first round series done. Don't give them hope. Don't let them hang around. Don't put yourself in quicksand. Johnny says Boston game hurt more because you had it with the cherry on top, but we let it fall off into the sewer drain. Yeah, that's the toughest thing under Tibbs, closing out a game, man. It's like they ain't on the same page sometimes, sloppy turnovers, players not looking at it. You got to know your personnel as well. Don't foul a 3-point shooter. I mean, all of the things that wise Clyde speaks on, man, with his wisdom, watching the game courtside for 50 years plus, right? He says the most simple things, but some of the players just don't get it. Like all Cat had to do was just let Tatum hit the three, let him beat you, falling out of bounds, right? Why bail him out, man? Right? You're up 3, right? Well, so what if he hits it? Then he goes to overtime. But why bail him out and foul him on that shot? You're already in the lead. You just have to protect the lead. You make the dude make the shot, but you don't foul them and bail them out, man. It's like these younger generation kids. They want to block the shot just so they can get bragging rights. But you're leading in the score. You just you need to make it difficult, but let the dude make the shot. And then live with that. It's just crazy. I think that's a bigger mistake than not fouling, to be honest. I know the not fouling is inexcusable, but for me, fouling the shooter when you're up in the ball game, Now, if they're up and you need to get a block, then you go for the block. But if you're up in the game, you don't bail them out like that, man. As well, especially where he was falling out of bounds. He had crazy coverage on him as well. And Cat's the tallest player on the team, man. Just get your hand up. And that, like Monkey Wrench said, it was a stupid foul. And Cat was stupid tonight again. I hope he proves us wrong. But look, he helped Minnesota get to the Western Conference Finals. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He's been through the battles last season. Let's hope he can do it again, man. We do need to find our focus down the stretch, man, and get those shots, get the right shots, get down low, Cat, get on the block as well. I know he's great on the perimeter. When he's wide open, take the 3. But those straight line drives and turnovers are a killer, And look, half the time to his benefit, they could foul him. Maybe they do get, slap his wrist, slap his arm. But when it's happening so quick, and it's like a beeline drive, the referees aren't going to call that all the time. It could be 5 seconds left in the ball game. They don't care. The guy's hand could get slapped. But, because it's happening so quick, they're just going to let the play continue. We might need to slow it down in the playoffs, back to the basket kind of stuff, Take the game away from the officials and from the other team, And then if we get stops, then we can get out and run. We get out and get our easy buckets with stops. I think we have to, deliver in the half court. We have to deliver, execute in the half court sets. Look, Miles McBride, he wasn't great tonight. We get better game from him, we win. Pressure stepped up. He gave us good minutes. PJ Tucker even gave us good minutes. Shamet hit some shots. But yeah, I think this one sits on Cat, Brunson, and Deuce. And Campaign. Campaign, 100%. Tendrell, yeah, Cat's jumping ability, vertical's not his strength, man. The guy's got like size 20 feet. like clown feet. It's tough for him to, operate in tight spaces as well. He's got kind of, he hasn't got a strong core, lower leg strength, and that's why he can't really post up smaller dudes as well, because you need that core strength down low, the leg strength to post up smaller dudes. Kind of like why Kristaps Porzingis just can't post up nobody because he's got chicken legs, Uh, yeah, one thing I don't like too is the campaign Mikal Bridges avoiding contact. Anytime they go to the rack, go strong. Get contact. Force the referees to make something. Whenever you kind of fall out of bounds, fall away, throw up a floater, and avoid the contact, man, you just, making life easier for the officials and for the other team. Don't be scared out there, man. Take contact, fam. That's what you're on the team for, to, get a foul and help your team. Man, it's definitely frustrating when they avoid the contact, man. Josh Hart doesn't. Josh Hart takes it strong, and that's why he has success normally taking it to the cup. Hart protects the basketball with his both hands, and he puts his shoulder into the chest of the defender and forces them to fall back. And then he finishes. We need these other guys to do the same. But yeah, we need to get stops, fam. I think the Knicks their offense has been very reliant on getting stops, getting their easy buckets going. In the half court, it's against taller teams with length. It's a grind because we are small, with Brunson, with Deuce, with Hart, and with Mikal. In terms of build with Mikal. Mikal's long, but yeah, build. Bro, he's 7 feet. He barely needs to jump, but he's been skipping leg day his whole career. That's true, no doubt. He's got a great touch around the basket, though, man. Yeah, he needs to just force that, get positioning. Johnny says, JB still getting his legs back? Have no fear. Look, JB was locked in early. I like to see JB. He was locked in early, definitely. But yeah, I think he was out of rhythm because he sat a long time. He didn't come back in till 6 and change back in the game. If this was a playoff game, he would have been back in with 9 minutes, maybe even 10 minutes, man. And we certainly wouldn't get 14 minutes of the campaign, experiment tonight, man. But yeah, PJ Tucker, we got to see something. He's probably not going to play again, but let's see, man. We might need him in a series. I won't rule nothing out, man. This series could get crazy against Detroit. Could be injuries, suspensions. It could be a brouhaha. There could be a, lopsided officiating. Yeah, we're going to need everybody, man. We're going to need everybody, all hands on deck. Detroit are a deeper rotation than us. We might need to, go down and find another guy. We might need to dust off another guy, man. It might be Precious. It might be DeLon Wright. It might be PJ, fam. I would probably hope for none, and I would hope that Mitchie can just play 30 minutes, man. That's the solution to our problems, fam. I think Mitchell Robinson being able to play 28 to 30 minutes would be excellent right now. He was in great form last game, blocking shots at the 3-point line, shuffling his feet. He looks ready. Mitchie looks definitely ready out there, and I hope, today was just resting. I think OG dealing with sort of a thumb soreness, and basically Josh Hart was dealing with the knee tendinopathy, resting as well. But that is it, ladies and gentlemen. 50 and 30 Knicks. The most they can win is 52. If they lose all 2 and Indiana win their 2, then the Knicks will fall down to 4 and face the Milwaukee Bucks. So that is not out of the question yet. If Indiana win both of their games and the Knicks lose both, that's a chance. But the Knicks win 1. If they win tomorrow or they win against Brooklyn, which I think they will, they'll clinch the 3rd spot against Detroit. as well. And look, after today, bring it on. Just bring it on. Detroit, it's going to be a fun series. Like I said, they're going to be playing with house money. They're going to be full of confidence as well, right? Time will tell how much of a factor that the 3 guys missing tonight is going to be, just how much of a factor that is. Big time playoff players, OG, Josh Hart, Mitchell Robinson as well. The Pistons will have their hands full, ladies and gentlemen. And I feel like the Knicks' best chance is to take care of business the first 2 games and put the pressure back on the Pistons too. You guys are on fire tonight. Appreciate the comments, quotes, questions, and buzz. Let's keep it coming, fam. Hopefully we can have a few guests on. I'm just working on something for the playoff coverage, but also obviously tomorrow night we're back, Cleveland, to close this thing out, the season series. What's going to happen with Cleveland playing tonight as well? It could be a situation of them resting some more of their dudes. Let me check that right now as the Cavaliers lose a tight one to the Pacers by 2 points. Right? For the Cavaliers, it was no Garland, no Spider. So it looks like they'll be on hand maybe for tomorrow night for their playoff warm-up, exactly like the Boston Celtics did with us. They rested their guys tonight for tomorrow. I think they don't want to give the Knicks a win against us, man. Kenny Atkinson, he knows what's up. He's still salty. He got ejected tonight. Kenny Atkinson with 2 technicals as well, so he's ready. And the Cavaliers rested up Spider and Garland, so maybe they'll be playing tomorrow. Let's see. Let's get it, guys. Salute. Playoff time is here. It's money time. Let's go Knicks.